Hey everybody, Chris here with Low Rent Chef, and we've all come across that time where, you make promises to yourself, and sometimes those promises are well-meaning, but occasionally you need to find loopholes around them. This is one of those episodes. So, if you promise yourself, I'm only having one sandwich, but fail to specify the size of said sandwich, then I think you're going to appreciate this. So, I come up with the idea a little while ago for making extra long grilled cheese sandwiches. And obviously, this is entirely stupid. Nobody needs a sandwich that's 16 to 20 inches long. But it is fun, so that's why we're doing this. Basically, what we're going to do is take this pan, and this is what's called the Pullman loaf pan. Assuming the person that invented this is named Pullman, that's the only thing that makes sense to me. But the reason that it varies from a regular bread pan is that it has this slide-off lid that blocks the bread from rising in a rounded fashion, so when you finish baking the bread, you have essentially an elongated cube of bread that's more or less perfectly square or rectangular. How long is this grilled cheese sandwich going to be? I'm glad you asked. Break out my trusted measuring tape, and we're looking at about 13 inches. Now, 13 inches ought to be enough for anybody, so we're going to go with this pan and get this started. Go ahead, set this out of the way, put a pot on whatever cooking surface you're going to be using, and going to measure out 2 cups of milk. Turn that on, and we're going to go ahead and set that to simmer and let that go until it starts. While that's going and heating up, you want to go ahead and take out your butter of choice, and you're going to want 4 tablespoons of butter. Now, the easiest way to measure this, normally sticks have these lines right here. Each one of these is a tablespoon. So we're essentially going to be using half the stick of butter. So we can go ahead and start the cut right there. And then to make this heat up a little quicker, just cut it into 4 slices like that. Take them, put them in the milk. Alright, and now what you want to do is to simmer this milk and butter over medium to low temperature until the butter is entirely melted, stirring occasionally to incorporate everything together. And then once you reach that point, you're going to want to go ahead and turn off your burner and allow everything to cool back down to lukewarm temperature for the next step. Okay, and once this reaches a lukewarm temperature, you're going to want to transfer it over to your bowl. Get all that there. Alright, set that off to the side. And it looks still a little warm, so we're going to go ahead and give that a little bit more time. But you can see what I mean about the incorporation. It all looks like it's one seamless color for the most part. That's what we're after. And once this has reached a roughly lukewarm temperature, you want it warm enough to where you can feel that it's warm, but not so warm that it feels hot on your skin. You're going to go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of sugar. Then you're going to go ahead and stir that in so that it gets incorporated into the milk. And then you're going to want to add 2 packets of active dry yeast. I'm using Fleischmann's on this, but you can use whatever packet you have. Or if you have a jar of yeast, you're going to use a total of 4 teaspoons. Alright, you're going to give this a gentle stir just to incorporate everything. You don't want to mix it, you're just going to get the yeast wet, and then you're going to leave it here to bloom, which is essentially leaving the yeast in a sugar-rich, because of the sugar we added, environment where it can go ahead and expand. So now what you're going to do is you're going to leave this for about 15 minutes. During that 15 minutes, what's going to happen is the yeast that you just added is going to begin to feed on the sugar that you add as well as the natural lactose in the milk, and it's going to do what they call blooming. And basically that is, it expands, it multiplies, and it's going to be very visible here very shortly. But leave it for the full 15 minutes, and then you should be ready to go. And when you reach this point, this is when the bread really starts to smell like bread. That yeast active in there really does the trick. So what we're going to do next is add 2.5 teaspoons of salt and 6 cups of flour. Depending on the size of your bowl, you're going to need to stir this very gently at first, obviously because of all the dry powder, it's going to fly everywhere. But you want to go ahead and incorporate this together until it reaches to the point where it's sticky and it will come away from the side of the bowl a little bit. And we're going to need this separately, so don't go overboard with the stirring, just incorporate it all till it's one mass. And then once you reach a certain point where everything is somewhat sticking together and there's less powder from the flour, you want to go ahead and just start kneading it with your hands. If you have an electric stand mixer, go ahead and put it on low and just let it kind of go for a little bit. But since I don't, hands. Okay, and once you reach this point where it's all incorporated and it's all one solid mass, you're going to want to continue to knead this for 6 to 8 minutes. First thing you want to do, though, is go ahead and oil your hands. I'm using olive oil. You can use whatever oil you choose best. Pour a little bit in your hands like this. Okay, that's a lot bit, but it'll go. Rub them together. And then go ahead Okay, and once this is in a ball, you're going to want to go ahead and leave it there, but you're also going to want to grease the sides of the bowl. So I'm going to add in a slight amount of oil, roll it around it, and now that you're at this point with your oiled ball of dough sitting in a bowl, you're going to want to cover it up and let it rise for roughly an hour. Some people will use bath towels or dish towels, clean ones, just covering it up. That way the gas can escape. I'm going to use Saran wrap, but basically you can use a couple of different options, so long as you don't use paper towels, because they will have a tendency to stick. Sometimes towels will have a tendency to stick as well, but at least then you're not leaving bits of paper towels in your dough. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll check back in an hour. Boom. I did say it was going to get bigger, right? This is crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and unwrap this. Not even really on there too well, but see that oil helps this slide right off. Off to the side. Oh, that smells good. Okay, so next step is to take this and to shape it and put it in this. So to set that off to the side for a second, just set that off to the side. And as you're shaping this, you're going to want to, or before you shape it, you're going to want to grease the inside of this. I'm going to use butter. I'm just going to get a stick of butter, rub it in, and then I'll put the dough in. Get the other half of the butter that I used before. And we'll start off with the lid and just rub it on. There. Okay, now go ahead and get this out. I'm going to roll it a little bit just to get that oil around. Want to go, that's the roughly the same length as the pan, which is right there. I'm going to mush it down a little bit. Now, again, because this is part of the time-consuming process of making bread, go ahead and put that lid on, because it breathes enough, and you're going to let it set for another hour. Okay, so the second hour of rising is up. Yeah, it's pretty much right at the top of the pan. So I better go ahead and close that back up before it rises above it. You're going to go ahead and put this in your oven. Normally we'll bake it right in that, but I think this is probably a little, yeah, it's like an inch too narrow. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven for 30 minutes, roughly, at 350 degrees, and then we'll see where we're at. Boom! Ooh, she's steaming. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn this out onto this. I don't have a cooling rack for some reason. We're going to let it cool off for a little bit so that it will hold together a little bit better when I start slicing it. And then we're going to start making some extra long grilled cheese sandwiches. Tilt that there. Give her another tilt. And boom. Actually, let's set you over here. There's that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give it another flip. Okay, so now that this is cooled off and it's firmed up a little bit, because that's what happens when bread cools off after you bake it, all we have left is to slice this into long, slender, well, slices. And I got, what did I have around here for the jaw? Probably shouldn't use that. Oh yeah, bread knife. So, what you're gonna do is you're gonna want to obviously cut these long along the bottom here. I'm gonna trim off the bottom and the top. I'm gonna leave the top last, but I'm gonna trim this off because nobody wants to have that be. This is a grilled cheese sandwich. If it was a roll or something like that, you're fine to leave that on, but that's really good bread. Now, I'm just gonna clean these crumbs up because the next stage is the fun part. And now that we have our extra large bread slices, what we're going to do is start putting them together. This is the fun part. This is also the part that you guys probably need the least help with, because if you've never made a grilled cheese sandwich, then I don't know where you grew up. But everybody I know has had hundreds, if not thousands, of these things. So you ought to know how to do this part. But there's a couple wrinkles that I'm just going to go with on this that, you know, stem from this being super large and kind of unwieldy. And what I'm referring to, of course, is the griddle. Lots of people have these on hand. If you don't, they are $20 at Walmart. They're pretty cheap. Or, you know, your local superstore of choice, or Amazon, whatever works best for you. And yep, it's getting warm. I already plugged it in. Has one of these knobs. I normally set mine to around 4.5. Slide that up out of the way so that we can start buttering our bread. This part's pretty simple. think everybody's done this part. So while that's heating up, I'm going to butter a slice, and then I'm going to set it over. I'll do 2 at a time. So I'm going to do, obviously, get a good even coat of butter. This one is sitting slightly unevenly, but I think that's more to do with the on the bottom. So then we're going to go ahead and set this over and get the next one. And if you're saying that looks like an awful lot of butter, don't be scared, okay? This is a grilled cheese. This is the equivalent of 3 grilled cheeses. So you should be using the equivalent of 3 times as much butter on them. Alright, so we'll set that aside. Move that there. And okay, and before we put these on the grill, I want to talk about cheese. So a lot of people use some very, more high-end cheese, starting all the way down at cheddar and all the way up to like Munster and Gruyere and a bunch of different kinds. So I'm not doing that, okay? That's not what this grilled cheese is about. This is about meltiness. This is about, classic grilled cheese. So you're going to stick with American cheese. It's not even really cheese. Don't fight me on it. That's fine. I don't care. It's still going to do what we need it to do here. So I don't need to go to the cheese court to get $4,000 an ounce cheese for this. Just a grilled cheese. Okay. We're also going to add in, sprinkle a little of this between the 2 layers of cheese. If you haven't tried this before, it's amazing. It's like a tomato / chicken bouillon flavor, and it's great. So again, slide this in here. If you're going to make an extra large grilled cheese, you can't attack it with a little basic spatula, okay? You need a little bit larger tool for the job. So I went with a pizza peel. So this is going to be perfectly sized for what I'm asking it to do. Go ahead and slide that on. And we'll just tip this over. There we go. All right, and set that ahead because you got to work fast. I was thinking 6, but it looks like it's going to be 8. Let's take this and overlap it a little more. Okay, you want to be like that, you're going to be like that. And boom. There's that. Now this is a shaker that I use because that stuff comes in the tomato chicken bouillon comes in a container that doesn't allow for shaker bowls. So not go insane with this, just a little bit. There. Now put that top on. That. Just grab this and give it a flip. Okay, now moment of truth. Is that done? Oh, that looked good. Okay. So now we're going to slide this off and flip it. No! Okay. Saved it. We're good. There's that. You ever notice how you can tell when a grilled cheese sandwich is getting done just by the sound it makes when you move it? Let's look. Oh, that looks good. And double check it. Yep, that didn't cut super evenly, but ow, hot. set that right there. And that's all there is to it. You know, aside from the 2 hours worth of time it takes for the dough to rise and everything, having to invent a new skillet to, a new spatula to use, you're still left with 2 very large grilled cheese sandwiches, which I'm going to cut into now, and you'll see it on the Instagram. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and hope to see you next time.